Hi, perhaps you have wondered whether you should get a Finnish citizenship or whether oleskelulupa, a residence permit, is actually enough. Well, in this video, I'm going to walk you through what are the benefits of having a Finnish citizenship and in what cases obtaining one actually makes sense. Let's get started. One of the biggest benefits that Finnish citizenship is that it gives you access to Finnish passport, and the Finnish passport gives you access to approximately 190 countries without a visa, or you can obtain a visa on arrival, which is a super easy process. If you come from a country where you don't have such a strong passport, this is definitely one of the major advantages. If you come from another European country, then most likely this is not such a big of a deal for you. But the passport is actually just one of the benefits that you get with the nationality. There's a lot more. When you have Finnish nationality, you also have freedom in the EU, which means that you have the freedom to travel and to live in another European country pretty much as you prefer. And you can also study more easily either in Finland or in another European country. As I already mentioned, you have a very powerful passport which allows you a lot of visa-free travel, and the Finnish passport is among the strongest ones in the world. You also become the full member of the Finnish society, and this is one of the most important things I would say if you are planning to stay in Finland long term. You get access to vote in the Finnish elections and actually take part in the different aspects of the society. You actually get to decide with your vote who are going to rule the country, who are going to make the decisions that are going to affect also your life. And maybe many people do not think about this so much, but I think this also is a very important factor. You actually become a Finn and one of us when you have your nationality. You also get strong legal protection if you are, for example, abroad, traveling somewhere, and suddenly there are some issues, let's say riots or some natural disaster. Well, you get to have protection and all the same resources as other Finns as well when you have Finnish nationality. Hopefully this will never happen to you, and hopefully you will never need this, but it is definitely a benefit when you are traveling to areas that are maybe not as safe. Also, you get easier hiring process when you work in Finland. The possible employers know that they can hire you easily. You don't need to go through any additional paperwork, and you can also travel for work more easily. Because if you have a job that includes a lot of traveling abroad especially, and you come from a country which doesn't belong to the EU, you have to apply for the working permit separately to all of those countries, most likely. And this is going to be more time consuming both for you and for your employer. So this is definitely that you should keep in mind also for the future, that even though you might not need it now, but you might need it in your future job. You might have to actually travel for work, and this becomes a major issue then. Maybe even it can become an obstacle, and a possible employer might hire somebody else over a person who does not have the citizenship because the traveling would become so complicated. Also, in a way, I would say that you get more positive trust from employers. They see that you are well integrated, they see that you are planning to stay in Finland long term, and of course, all this is going to be reflected very positively on your chances of getting a job. But the most important benefit, I think, is the long-term safety. You don't depend on visa renewals anymore. You don't depend on what political changes are maybe made regarding the foreigner policy. And you have the safety that you can stay in Finland as long as you want. Sometimes people underestimate some of the benefits that nationality can actually give you, because it's true that having a permanent residency often might be enough for many people, but still it's not exactly the same. Finland is a very stable country, and you get all the benefits of that stability when you have the citizenship. We have a very strong legal system that protects you in Finland and also abroad. You might also get access to some social security benefits as a Finnish national, but that you might not get otherwise. And as I mentioned, you get consular protection abroad. So if there are any issues, you get the same help as any other Finn would. Let's talk about politics very quickly. So as a Finnish citizen, you can vote in parliamentary elections, in presidential elections, and municipal elections, and also in the European Parliament elections. If you do not have Finnish nationality, you can only vote in municipal elections and not in any of the other ones. Well, if you have a nationality of some other European country, then you can vote at European Parliament elections, of course, but not the Finnish candidates. And also, if you want to take more actively part in the politics, you can, after you have your nationality, then you can run for parliamentary elections, municipal elections, or even EU Parliament elections. The only thing that is different regarding the people who were born in Finland and have Finnish nationality and the people who were born somewhere else and later obtained their nationality legally, the only difference is that they cannot run for the president. So that's the only thing that you cannot do, even though you obtained your Finnish nationality. But I think most likely this is not something most of you are even concerned about. There are different ways how you can obtain the Finnish nationality. As many of you know, you can obtain it by application, by declaration. In some cases, if you have some family ties or you come from some countries that have special agreements with Finland, the whole process might be faster and easier, or by birth or by descent. Well, what is required for nationality then? Nowadays, you have as a requirement that you must have lived in Finland for 8 years, but if you meet the language requirement, you can apply after 5 years. The language requirement is that you have to be able to use Finnish or Swedish at least at B1 level. That basically means that you have to pass the YKI test in Finland, and that's normally the test that's used for determining your language level, unless you have, for example, completed your higher education completely in Finnish. Then some people are maybe using Swedish as an alternative, and they think that, oh, I can just learn Swedish, it's gonna be faster and easier, and I'm going to get my papers done way faster than by learning Finnish. Actually, this is something I would never recommend unless you live in an area which is very, very heavily Swedish speaking, like Ahvenanmaa, the biggest island that we have, which is basically completely only Swedish speaking. Even in some big cities like Turku or Vaasa, you can manage completely in Finnish. And normally Swedish speakers do speak pretty good Finnish or even completely fluent Finnish, but we can't unfortunately say the same about most Finnish speakers. Most Finnish speakers do not speak Swedish, or their Swedish is super basic, and you cannot really live in most parts of Finland by only using Swedish. So this is something that you have to take into account. And if you use that time for learning Swedish instead of Finnish, you might be very disappointed later when you notice that you don't really have much use for that language in Finland. Whereas you need Finnish basically everywhere in Finland. Well, then also there are some other requirements for those who are applying for nationality. You have to have fulfilled your financial obligations. Basically, you cannot have any issues with paying taxes, for example, and you also have to have secure income or livelihood, meaning that you cannot depend on the state of Finland to support you. And you should not have any serious criminal record. Also, one more important thing is that the time that you have spent abroad matters. You can't just live abroad most of the time or for very extended periods of time while mainly living in Finland, and if you are planning to apply for nationality, because there are limited days that you can spend outside of Finland. Otherwise, your residence time may not count, right? So you have to have that 8 years or 5 years of living in Finland, and if you have spent considerable time in, let's say, in 1 year or in some of those years abroad, actually those years might count as way less, and this might slow down your application process considerably. The main bottleneck that people have normally when they are thinking about getting a Finnish nationality is that they might get stuck on passive study of Finnish for years, and getting to B1 level takes then a very long time, because to reach B1 you need to study consistently and you need to also speak consistently Finnish, and you need a real interaction and practice with real situations. Also, you need some correction on the things that you're doing well and the things that you need to maybe practice more. So, how can you practice speaking, especially if you are working in English? Well, that's exactly why I run a small Finnish conversation group, and you can join this group via the link in the description. This group is all about practicing speaking and already using the things that you have learned so far. The recommended starting level for joining this group is A2, so you don't have to be at intermediate level yet, but you should have learned Finnish already before and know all the basics so that you can actually use them in this class. How would a Finnish passport change your life? Let me know in the comments. Also, it would be interesting to know if the requirements for obtaining a passport in your country are similar or if there are any major differences. Feel free to let me know in the comments. Let's learn from each other. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to let YouTube know and press that like button so that this video can reach even more people. Moi moi!